Hello snowboarders of the internet, I'm your host Avran LeFeber, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Marhar LJX. This board features Marhar's new age camber, which is just camber 2.0, so it's a more mellow camber that comes down with a flat section before a tiny little rocker in the upkick in the tip and the tail. So what you get is the load, pop, snap, and drive of camber underfoot. It just feels like a board you've ridden 100 days. This board's available in 152, 155, and 158. I rode this board at Arapahoe Base on a day that was sunny, bluebird, warmer temps. You had slush, chop, chunder, creamy snow, dust on top of that creamy snow, kind of just a mix of all spring-like conditions, and I rode it with my Rome Black Label bindings and my K2 Thraxis boots. So this is your standard run-of-the-mill, middle-of-the-road park flex. Nothing weird there. But what you get is softer tips, and believe me, they softened them up over the previous years, and then a stiffer midsection with an overabundance of torsional flex. You can really twist this board. The width of this deck is what gives it its stability. Now the tips, they get a little chattery and they flap at speeds, and that'll slightly resonate underfoot. But when you're flat basing and you're just cruising on a groomer, you really don't feel anything. It just tends to be a little bit more damp. When you get into really rutted out terrain, the tips, they're gonna flap back up at you, but the midsection is gonna crush through everything in its path. So one thing I wanna talk about the snap on this board is that you need to understand with those softer tips, when you load that camber up and you roll back on it, you can over flex it and you will go ass over tea kettle, as I found out on more than one occasion. But if you're a little more laid back and almost skate-like pop it, you're still gonna get solid snap out of this board. It's not the snappiest out there, but it's solid enough. You're gonna be able to send a side hit, launch off a roller, ollie off of a cat track gap. You know, you're not gonna have to worry about it. When it comes to jumps, I do think that this is better for small and medium-sized jumps versus something bigger. You don't have that stability in the tips that you want when you set down, so it will wash out on you. But with a small to medium jump, it pops off the lip just fine. It makes it past the knuckle right to the sweet spot, and believe me, you want to make it to the sweet spot, not the knuckle. Some people will tell you to land on the knuckle, don't land on the knuckle. And it gets more than enough of the job done. They've really made this board super buttery now. It really butters in the nose and the tail. You can lean back, lean forward, and it goes right into it. Or you can be a man and pop into it and push into it when you land and have it lock in and hold. If you're overly aggressive, it will wash out on you, so you can be actually a little more laid back and still get a nice deep butter out of this thing. And it will hold until you want to disengage it, unless you're overpowering it. And with it holding, you get a little bit of snap out of it. That translates over to how it jibs. It locks into nose and tail presses till the end of the feature and holds it, and when you go sideways, it really cradles it and locks in perfectly. This board rides like a skateboard on edge. It's kind of fast and loose. You do have added contact points underfoot, which give you a little more grip, which are great for short, tight, quick carves or medium, mellow carves. But when you get into hard, medium carves or anything more, the tail tends to kick out. It doesn't have the power you want to really absolutely drive it. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying there are limitations, so you need to be aware of that. Now, if you're being a little more laid back and then you crank into a deep hard carve, probably gonna be fine. But if you're just going hard carve 24/7, not gonna be what you want out of it. It's got that edge hold the way you want in this, but it's not overly grippy. So who's this board for? The volume shifted, loving butter guy, or someone that's a Sasquatch with really big feet that wants something that's a little more playful in the tips. So when I was riding this, it took me a few laps to figure out that new flex in the tip and the tail, because that does change the dynamic of it. It's not as precise as it used to be, and it really almost feels like the regular lumberjack, but with camber, which means you're gonna get a little more snap out of it, a little less skate snap, a little more responsive snap underfoot. It's not a bad thing. I just think if they stiffen the tips up, it would be more where it needs to be, but that's just my take on it. I'm a little biased with the lumberjack in them because I did help design it, but hey, to each their own. If you like camber, you're a big-footed rider, and you want something that you can downsize on, this isn't a bad option. Comparable boards: the Libtech Jamie Lynn Short Wide, the K2 Party Platter, the Battalion Party Wave Twin. Binding recommendations: the Rome Katana, the K2 Edition, the Union Force. This has been my review of the Marhar LJX. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you own one? Are you going to buy one? Leave me a comment down below. Let's have a conversation about this snowboard. If you're new here, remember to subscribe, click the bell, get those notifications. That way you're not missing any of the videos we got coming out for all you snowboarders of the internet. And if you really like what we're doing here and you want to support us further, swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP and become a member. Sure, I could tell you more here, but I got a video over there that explains it so much better. As always, I've been your host, Avran LeFeber, and I'll see you in another video.